How much? Okay, what is the proper? Because I can tell already my hand's gonna start cramping up.
Oh, you're clutching that thing. Like,
I'm not. I'm trying to do because I do a lazy jiu-jitsu grip anyway. But
I think you want like a 3-finger grip here?
Is
I've got 3 fingers.
Three
like
fingers?
The,
All right. Well, I'll work on that.
Yeah.
But so the Globetrotters, you sent me that one link, which let me just get out of the way. SPG. Because Chris Paynes is a black belt under Britt Mickelson, who's a black belt under Matt Thornton, who's an SPG guy.
Yeah.
So here you are.
Although if you see the promotion,
you talk so much trash about my love for SPG, and here you are. What now?
Oh, what's funny is if there's actually a video of Chris getting his black belt.
Oh.
And Preet is like, I don't believe in black belts under people. It's just you're a black belt or you're not a black belt, and then you can kind of keep training, and be a student again. Like you're done with that stuff, and then you can go like keep training. So he was like, "It's Chris's day. Let's eat cake." And then he just like gives,
That's kind of awesome.
And then he kind of walked off. But again, that's I think also the guy's personality too. Is he very like? Well, you need to watch some of his on the Globetrotter channel. I
started.
Okay.
So I started watching the Defend Everything one, which is excellent. I started watching. Have you watched like all of them?
No, they're too. I mean, they're a lot.
They're very long.
They're a lot.
And
in all honesty, I think they vary in quality too. So
yeah, I was
depending
gonna
on
say,
the instructor and the material.
Yes.
Sometimes the material is targeted for, and also the audience. Like sometimes there's a very like super fundamentals class, and sometimes the fundamental class will interest me more than an advanced class. I'm not saying it's the topic. It's just like anything. The teacher, the material, how it's taught. It's not. You're going to have a mixed bag of instructor quality, or I'm not even going to say that. Instructors that click with you.
There you go. Exactly. Right. Like, what's a good fit? And I mean, so far, like the Chris guy is very good. What? How do
I say Preet?
Preet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Preet.
But people say Prit.
Prit. I mean, American.
Yeah.
Yeah. His. I had pointed out to you before. I've seen him before in some old SBG tapes where they like once a year they do a basically an instructor get together. Where sort of like, hey, this is sort of what everybody's been working on. What are you working on? And just sort of like a melding of ideas. And he was one of them. And he's got a very, I don't know if it's for me. It's fair for me to say that it's a European style of humor, or it's
Estonian.
I mean,
Estonian humor. We're very dry.
Yeah, it's very dry, right? And he was like, we have a saying. I just remember seeing this, and he's just talking about like how. Like, if you ever get cross-faced in my gym, that means, like, your jiu-jitsu sucks. He's like, period. If you ever get cross-faced in the bottom position, your jiu-jitsu sucks.
Bad posture.
And so that's he's the your jiu-jitsu sucks guy that always sort of sticks out to me. But so I saw you lifting weights over there. What you got going on? You're doing the Pahada on the weights.
I'm doing my circuits. So. As your phone goes flying, I talked about vibration and the whole phone goes shattering on the mats. So I think I've even told you, I've been of the belief that the best way for someone in my position to get better is to just focus on technique, and developing attributes isn't going to matter too much. I'll get better by technique. And then once you're at a very high level, and everyone's really close together skill-wise, then you worry about developing your attributes, your strength, your agility, your flexibility, to have an edge up on equally skilled opponents. I'm still not very skilled. I'm working my way up. I'm developing my skills. However, I have felt that everyone walking in the door just seems to be bigger.
That's because you're getting older.
Yeah, it's probably, so the whatever we're putting in the water, or whatever Joe Rogan thinks is filtering into our water is going into effect.
Is it Joe Rogan or is it Eddie?
Everybody.
It's like, 'cause
any conspiracy theory.
That last podcast, man, so much over talking.
I didn't even.
The JRE? Oh
no,
my God. It's like, it's out of control.
So,
Like, because they mentioned Epstein one time, and it was supposed to be like about a year in review of MMA, and it just delved into Eddie talking about just conspiracies, and it was out of control.
so
What's in the water is making you feel weaker.
no, it's not weaker. It's just I feel like I'm going with guys that are bigger and stronger than me, and I just felt like I need to start hitting the weights again. And
Again, how long have you taken a layoff then?
So I would say I was steadily working out from when I was 16 all the way up until my late 20s, early 30s.
Hang on. So that's a lot of years of consistent lift. That's 16 years of lifting. Assuming you're 32.
Yeah.
And but lifted, that means you stopped.
What happens, like, I would say I got some injuries towards the end of grad school that I think were actually lifting related that took away the consistency and momentum I developed.
Was it ego lifting?
It was a bench press competition.
So yes, it was the absolute ego.
It was a bench press competition
lifting.
at my school, and I think just by doing that heavy lifting.
Was this a bro competition, or was it like an actual bench press
It
competition?
was sanctioned by and run by the rec center of.
Really?
Yeah, and it was a ratio lift thing.
Okay.
So it was like who could lift the most with respect to their ratio.
What weight were you at?
I stepped on the scale at around 180.
Really?
Yeah, and
Okay.
I got 290 or 295.
Nice.
I
Very
tried to
nice.
get 300, and I couldn't get 300. I've never benched 300. And that was the goal, right?
So that was your. And how long were you building up to that?
I mean, I had been lifting a lot up until that, but I was doing bench, which I never really did bench. I always was a dumbbell press guy. So I switched to bench just for the competition, so only a few months.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
These children are so loud next door.
Oh,
It is. God, like, if I can just raise my kid to not do that.
wait until you hear Eric. Eric starts screaming at him.
Oh no, I know. But his is like a weird.
Then Paul says, "Go get him, Eric."
He's gonna be the guy who. Have you seen that meme of like, regardless of your age, always give your all? And it's like the fucking instructor like doing like an Uchimata on like an 8-year-old kid.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
like that's gonna be him, and he's gonna think it's awesome, right? Like, but anyways, so 280, and you injured yourself. What'd you injure?
So it was some sort of labrum tear, I want to say, in my shoulder.
For those of us, me included, I don't know what submission can hit a labrum, so I don't know what a labrum is.
So we need
Like-
Mike on here to explain exactly that. But basically, my right shoulder, there was a clicking that developed
Ooh.
in a certain. If you rotate your shoulder, it would start to click. So basically, the labrum is in there along with your rotator cuff that kind of keeps with stability. And I think I partially tore it.
Oh Jesus!
But it wasn't something that it was like, I heard it. It was just lifting too heavy too often.
And ever since then, you kind of backed off of lifting?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Just for maintenance, or
I backed off it because it actually took a lot of downtime for it to actually go away. Mm-hmm. Now I actually feel I can lift heavy again if I wanted to, but
Okay.
I don't. So I think I did. I think I was better than most people, like most bros at the time with the lifting, in terms of what I was doing to my body. But I'm still guilty of 100%. Putting too much stress on my joints and putting wear and tear on my joints unnecessarily because of too much overload, not possessing the knowledge that I possess now, and even what I possess now is pretty minimal in my opinion. But I'm realizing just through this, like I went from 163 to 170 in about a month, and that's
of lifting.
So that's a combination of water weight, fat, and some muscle mass. Okay.
Nice.
So there's a whole. I'm not saying I put on 7
you're not
pounds
like-
of lean
yeah,
muscle.
like
I know that 100%. There's more water weight in
I
there.
mean, it's possible.
It's
I just
not-
don't think you're doing that.
No, I'm not doing it that way. For sure.
Like-
but so I'm definitely taking in a lot more calories.
Are you?
And, I'm.
Wait, do you eat
Do I
meat?
do my shakes? Do I eat what?
Meat?
So I went pescatarian for a month. I'm off that.
So that's
So
okay.
I'm
Let
having-
me
I'm having-
cut you off. real
I'm
quick.
having,
Why do people say that for some reason fish is not meat?
I don't know.
Because it's the flesh of a fucking animal, right? So in my opinion, people are like, no, I don't eat
I wasn't
meat.
doing it for that reason.
Okay,
though.
I'm like, because to me that's a crock of shit. Like,
No,
you're
I was
killing
I was
something to
doing
eat
it
its flesh.
because-
Therefore, you're not a vegetarian.
I was doing it because I think it's harder to get good quality red meat and chicken as opposed to fish.
Yeah, I guess it's a purer.
Like
right,
I'm talking about, like if I was in the, if I was out on the farm with chickens and I was wringing their heads and plucking the feathers and eating it, that's high quality chicken. It's very, all this stuff is very.
And are you
It's
sort
it's
of
like harvested
anti,
meat? Harvested
yeah,
meat
it's like
versus,
versus
grown-
like.
yeah.
So you, but you feel as though, but that's the thing though, right? Isn't most fish now farmed fish, or are you going out and like you're specifically choosing wild caught?
Try to, yeah.
You do? Okay, all right.
100%.
Well then, fair enough. Interesting. I'd like to do a control experiment then with you. So of like 1 month, you doing like only pure like agro business like chicken breast.
Like Purdue.
Yeah, or Tyson, right? And then like the next month and a half, but you have to be able to control like every bit of that physical activity you do and like log everything. And then like the next month you do like only wild caught fish, and the next month you do like Impossible Burgers. As long as you're getting the same amount of protein.
My concern with the harvested food is more potential long-term side effects than
like
nutritional quality.
Okay, so you mean like fucking pesticides and
Yeah.
hormones added and all that bullshit.
So that's more of a peace of mind thing at this point in time.
So what was your protocol prior to you injuring yourself? I mean, like,
I was lifting.
like,
I was probably lifting 5 days a week. It was a bodybuilding type routine.
single joint movements. Very,
So I would do I would do back on Monday.
What was your goal then?
Just be jacked. It was. I would say it was 60% feeling good, 40% vanity. And really, maybe it was like 55-45 or 51-40, 49 kind of thing.
So what is your protocol now?
My protocol now is 3 days a week, longer rest between movements, emphasis on strength movements.
Longer rest between movements.
Yes.
So you're not trying to build any sort of like cardiovascular conditioning off of it.
No, the jiu-jitsu does that.
Okay, fair enough.
And in my opinion, and not go to failure anymore.
Out of fear of risk of injury?
Because I think it's unnecessary. I'm realizing that's the whole thing. Listening to Pavel, it's like if let's say you can lift 100 pounds 10 times to failure, just lift it 6 times.
6 times?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's very...
So and I've found that for what I'm trying to do, I'm not trying to be Mike O'Hearn. I'm not trying to be Jay Cutler. I'm not trying to be, a power lifter.
So that's
I don't know any
too,
like
right?
famous
Like,
power lifters off the top of my head. I just named bodybuilders. But so for what I'm doing, I can get more than adequate gains, in my opinion, and reach what I'm trying to hit, which is just a stronger frame for jiu-jitsu, doing a routine that very much minimizes the risk of injury. And that's kind of, because to me it's like if I can do the movements and then eat adequate nutrition, that to me is the big thing. It's less about, I always kind of knew it was less about maxing out all the time and more about nutrition. But man, it really is that.
Oh yeah. Like, what are you? So, what are the strength movements that you say you're focusing on versus what you were doing before? Because we all go through these cycles, right? Like
So
when we all start lifting. Because I started lifting actually around the same time, about 15 years old, in high school, weightlifting team. Which that is in high school. I don't know if you had weightlifting in your high school. Well, you were homeschooled, right?
Correct.
So you did not have weightlifting
No.
in your high school.
I was doing pull-ups on the tree outside.
Okay, so you.
I started when I was, I think, 13 or 14.
Okay.
Or maybe 15. But there are no weights. So I was actually that was one thing that was really.
Did you not lift weights? Is this not a part of your tennis?
I did not lift weights until I was like 17.
Really?
Which is actually, I think, awesome that I did, and probably, I think that might have helped me with injuries because I haven't, knock on wood, had like significant injuries.
Do you feel as though
like I feel like I got out of this bro thing relatively unscathed, honestly,
because you didn't put the earlier mileage on?
Yeah.
So that's the thing too, right? Like, don't you feel as though, for example, because I think the idea of strength and conditioning is changing a lot amongst athletes now.
100%.
Like way more so than even 10 years ago, right? Like the idea that you don't lift weights because it'll slow you down and make you build bulky, whatever the case is, right? Like just all these sort of like myths. Were you were doing any sort of strength and conditioning for your tennis?
No.
Really?
No,
You're just only doing tennis?
Yeah. That was a mandate. I was a kid. I was playing tennis, and even
which is good. I mean,
when I was
when
I was teaching at the academy, where you would see that sort of development, there was no. The fitness was more jogging, mobility. There wasn't strength training. The strength training comes in when the person has more of an adult body, when the athlete has more of an adult frame. Now, at the time, my dad, and I think also the belief system at the time, I don't know what the belief system now, was that lifting weights had an effect on your growth plates and you would stunt your growth.
I think that's changed.
I don't know if that's changed. I haven't been on top, but because I'm not a teenager anymore, not thinking about it.
I'm a parent, so I'm like, at what point can I start having Connor lift weights? You know, like I sit there and I'll bust out like my 10-pound kettlebell and I'll be like, lift that thing, and he gets in front of me, he does this like perfect squat, and he's 2, right? So like he can't do it.
Are you gonna have one of those like Russian kids? It's like Jack, like those.
Dude, have you seen the Instagram of like the little Bruce Lee kid?
The nunchucks.
He's memorized the Chinese connection. Oh my God, it's and that's what I have to hold myself back from doing. Right?
Oh jeez,
like I need
let your kid do what he wants to do.
I want him to do that, but I have to hold him back. Right? Like if he wants to go play Barbies, whatever the case is, like it's gonna kill me. But like I have to like go let him play with Barbies, right?
Well, that's like two sides of a spectrum. I wasn't saying.
I just let me have mine. I fight with this every day, Noah. Like the other day, we went to fucking. it was a day where it was me and Connor, and because his mom was out doing volunteer work. You want to talk about how different of personalities we are? I punch and kill people, and she goes and does volunteer work for the homeless. So I had Connor duty, and we went to do our thing. And on the way back, I was like, "Hey, if you're a good boy, we'll go get some ice cream, right?" So we go to Walmart, and I'm like, "All right, man." You know, I want my kid to be able to make decisions. I'll give him choices. I'm not going to impose stuff on him. And I pick him up and I'm holding him for the ice cream case. I'm like, which one do you want to get? And he goes, that one. I was like, fuck, are you serious, man? And it's fucking unicorn ice cream. It's like pink and purple with sparkles. I'm like, you want that one? He's like, yes. I'm like, fucking hell. So like the late Gen Y or Gen Xer of me goes like, what's going on here? But then the younger like millennial side of me goes like, you know what?
More power to
him. If
him.
he wants unicorn ice cream, let's get some unicorn ice cream. But then on the way down, because I'm 5'10", I'm carrying this like 2-year-old kid. On the way down, he goes, "Ooh, that one!" And he points at brownie chocolate ice cream with brownie bits. And I'm like, "Fuck yeah!" And then so I
thought he was gonna point to like the G.I. Joe one, and you'd be like, "Yeah."
No, so I'm like, and he's like, "That one." I'm like, "So which one do you want?" And he's like, "That one." And he points back to the unicorn. I'm like, "You sure don't want that one?" He's like, "That one." So I'm like, I guess I have to buy 2 things of ice cream. So like, as such, these are the battles that I have to fight every day, right? Like I want him to do jiu-jitsu and kill people. I also want him to have the option if he wants to play with Barbies to play with Barbies or eat unicorn ice cream, which is delicious, by the way. So it was.
So how come you had some? You had to have some.
I mean, I just want to taste. I'm fucking buying a $5 thing of ice cream. I'm not.
I'm
not saving it for.
I thought when you said ice cream, it was like a little ice cream pop.
No. It's a half gallon of fucking ice cream, dude. So like, I'm not letting that shit go to waste. Like, he's got a 2-year-old. He's got an attention span of a day and a half. He's gonna eat that, and I'll be like, I'll ask him if he wants it again, and he'll be like,
maybe that's why all these guys coming in the gym are big. Because like when you buy ice cream for a kid, you get a fucking like a half gallon
ice cream. But so,
Xander, how come you're so big?
It's because I ate unicorn ice cream when I was 2.5. So maybe that's the secret. I need to pump them full of unicorn ice cream. It's got glitter in it though, which is weird because I'm like, we're ingesting like glitter. I don't know what it's made out of. But I'm like, this can't be.
And I'm worried about like non-organic chicken.
Yeah, exactly. And
now we're eating glitter. We're putting plastic into our bodies.
Purple glitter. What in nature is purple? Like,
well, yeah. That's why I try to always get that Gatorade Frost now that doesn't have any coloring.
Oh, come on, man.
You're
not going to live to be 1,000. The marginal risk of...
I don't know. We'll see. Peace of mind.
Yeah, okay.
The other funny thing is, like, and I've never and this is where a scientist or someone that comes up with these food and these colorings is probably shaking their head, but my primitive brain is like, I've ingested countless gallons of Gatorade over my life. Never seen any of that color when I go to the bathroom, but if I have beets, it's like I got punched in the gut super hard. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, there must be some sort of like oxidation that's happening, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So the smart person out there is like, well, it's obvious because at the chemical level, this is what happens.
That
blah,
was
blah, blah.
okay. So like,
this is my like, that would be like the narrative brain just saying, well, it can't be bad because look, it doesn't even do this, and you can eat beets, and beets are good for you.
Well, that
would
that would be even worse then, right? Because you're fucking also your stomach acids aren't even breaking it down.
Yeah.
So that would make it worse, in my opinion. I don't know. But it's funny because like I have a buddy. Shout out to Chris Bowers. Was there when I tested for my blue belt. He's my buddy from college, and he was like, "Chris, you got to get these pads. We can detoxify our bodies." And I was like, "Chris, get the fuck out of here, man."
What pads?
Oh my god! So this is coming from the kid who literally dips fucking Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets into mayonnaise and eats them like that. It's disgusting. So
I knew a guy like that in college.
It's gross.
I won't shout him out because I don't want to call him out. But
no, but and he would actually
one of the most
appreciate
disgusting
this.
people I've actually encountered.
Bowers drank Mountain Dew and ate Publix cookies for breakfast every day. He would eat like 8 cookies in Mountain Dew. And mind you, he's not like fat. He would run like you can't outwork a bad diet. This kid did. He
sounds like Paul Rodriguez.
But he these pads, right? They were like you put them on the bottom of your feet at night. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? Okay. You put them on your bottom of your feet. On the bottom of your feet at night, and it sucks out all the impurities, Noah. And they turn black. And he's like, Chris, they turn black. I'm like, Bowers, there's probably some sort of fucking oxidizing component that when you pull that like seal off and you expose to air or the sweat on your feet or the cases, it's probably it's not sucking anything out of your feet. Like, he's like, Chris, I don't know. And that's...
You're being exercised, bro.
What's that?
You're being exercised, like The Exorcist.
Yeah,
like
I guess so, right? Like the
the
super bad juju out of your things there. So, beets.
Very healthy for you.
You're such a hipster. You have just solidified to me.
I grew up on a farm. We had an organic. I grew up in the country. We had an organic garden my entire life. So most people would probably classify my parents as hippies, even though they would definitely not classify themselves as hippies.
Right, because it's like.
But they're definitely on the simplest way to explain them to a stranger is like that. Is more on that side of things.
I mean they're hippies as in like
living off the land sort of thing.
I mean, that's not a hippie.
Yeah.
I mean, like if I think hippie, did they have like a VW bug? Or not a VW bug?
No, it's not like that.
Okay, all right. Because that's what I think of hippie, like tie-dye. Let's tie-dye.
No, not at all.
See? Yeah.
And my dad didn't even like, especially now, my dad was not an American. Like he didn't grow up in the States. Right. That doesn't even apply to him.
Oh,
it's just they've adopted a lifestyle which is very much, let's be out in the country, let's be more in nature. They're not necessarily fans of living in an urban environment. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. So. And
they live in Winter Park.
In Maine.
In Maine.
Yeah, Winter Park doesn't.
You live in Winter Park. What am I talking about?
Yeah, I live around Winter Park. Yeah, for sure.
Do they still live on a farm?
Yeah, 9 acres.
Do they still tend to the everything?
Yeah.
Really?
And that's why I make
your
pilgrimages at various times of year to help out with so trimming the apple trees is my thing. So I'll trim the apple trees.
Hang on. When you go to Maine, you're straight up...
I put myself to work.
Really?
Yeah.
How many people are on their farm?
Well, it's not a farm. There's no. It was a farm, but there are no livestock anymore. Like the kitchen, the chicken coop was converted into my dad's art studio.
Okay.
So
you're heading towards hippie.
It's
town,
garden and blueberry fields and apple trees.
So would that be what classifies that's an orchard then, right?
I don't know, man. It's just
I'm trying to
live out in the country. It's a mixture of things. But
so when shit goes down, like you know what to do.
The better thing to say is the main task that I try to do when I make my various pilgrimages up there. Thankfully, there's a direct flight from Sanford, so it's actually highly convenient.
Oh, nice.
Is trimming the apple trees in the fall or late summer.
What kind of apples?
I don't even know. They're red apples and green apples.
Are they Gala?
I don't know.
Can you bring me some Gala apples?
I really honestly don't know. But
apple.
The big thing is to eliminate the suckers, and then, I mean, that's its own little art form. But just doing that.
Hang on. Is that how apples are picked by hand? Like there's a dude crawling on a ladder, going to each branch, pulling an apple off of branches.
I don't know. We don't really that's the one thing we don't harvest that like.
Oh, okay,
I almost want to
right.
do a cider press. I'm just keeping the trees trimmed so that the apples do grow nicely, but the trees don't grow too big and then branches break. Like an apple tree untrimmed could grow and overextend itself and then start breaking limbs. Its own limbs.
So it's not like an oak tree. It just fucking gets gigantic and
We have
that's due to like human meddling though, right? Like,
yeah. So the other big one is stacking the wood and putting the wood in the basement. So we don't have any central heat. We have a wood stove.
Oh my God.
So our source of heat is wood.
Like a potbelly stove?
Yes, kind of like that. It's fed from the top.
But yeah, there's no like
we don't cook with it. We don't cook with it.
Gingerbread.
We only heat the house.
Okay,
all right. We don't cook with it. We cook with a gas stove.
Whoa!
But
do you have electricity?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you're not.
But we don't have any sort of central heat.
Really?
It's only the stove. So, which is essentially a fireplace.
How the fuck do you sleep at night?
Dude, that thing heats the fucking shit out of the place.
Does it really?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, really?
So what happens is we have a basement, and in the basement is where we keep the dry wood. So the dry wood is the wood that was dried the previous year and was brought inside so it can't get wet. You can easily access it throughout the winter. And then, so bringing that inside is a chore. We have 3 to 4 cords every year. That's a measurement for wood. I don't know how it translates it, but it's about...
It's a lot of fucking wood.
It would mean a stack of... It would be like wood that... I don't know how to describe it. It's like 20... I don't know, maybe like 20, 25 feet in length. Like 4.5 feet high, and then 6 feet wide.
Did you have to cut this shit?
No.
Okay.
Where we live in Maine is actually the main industry is lumber.
Oh, okay.
That's the lumbering industry is big. Bangor was a big hub back in the day. People would float logs down the river.
Oh, really?
That's kind of how the way they would transport it back in the old days would cut trees and then put it in the river and float it downstream.
Float it down to the mill, right?
To the mill, exactly.
That's awesome.
So we haven't talked about jiu-jitsu yet.
No, we haven't. We're talking about your like Mowgli.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
I'm trying to think of the most.
How you're like hanging around, like hanging off of trees doing pull-ups.
Yep. I mean, I climbed a maple tree every day. That was my big tree.
Did you really?
No, I climbed that thing up and down.
I climbed. Do kids climb trees anymore? I don't think they do. I grew up climbing trees, sweet gum trees down here in Orlando. I can't say the last time I've seen a kid in my neighborhood.
When I go back, I'll climb the tree.
Do you really?
Oh yeah.
I'm afraid of heights now.
If that tree were to get cut down, I would be devastated. It would be like a loss in the family.
Oh man!
I mean,
did you carve your name into it?
God no. Of course not.
Why not?
I wouldn't damage a tree like that.
Man, that shit'll last forever.
Shit.
That thing's gonna be there longer than you and I will ever be here.
I mean, we've seen one go down. One almost hit our house when it fell down. It probably was close to 200 years old, maybe older.
Holy shit.
Yeah. But these are like maples. Like someone tried to tap the tree, which is you can't. Like someone was just trying to be sneaky and tap the tree for maple syrup.
Can you not do that?
It's not if it's on your property.
Oh, yeah, I get it. Yeah.
You know,
did they think that's something that you guys wouldn't notice some random dude walking up with a bucket?
or it's like, I don't know. It's like
there are ring
it's
doorbells
like
now.
what is it down here? It's like the beach, like the shore is like common.
Right, yeah.
It's like you don't own the shoreline; anyone can walk on it. So as long as
Some people are just walking. But okay. So jiu-jitsu wise, I had a topic I was thinking about.
well, I had the thing I wanted to bring up.
Oh, what'd you go please?
So the big story in the jiu-jitsu world for Central Florida was Craig Jones was in town.
Oh my God, yeah. And
So Craig Jones was in town, and I missed out on seeing this live twice. So I had found out through Paul that Craig Jones might be dropping into Fusion in West Orlando. Shout out to Fusion X-cel. And train, because I guess he's doing a seminar circuit, and Orlando was, I guess, on his way. So I was hoping that Julian, the head instructor at Fusion, would let Paul know, and then I would find out and be able to at least watch, you know? Honestly, it was like, hey, it would be cool to get a photo with the guy. Be like, hey, I met Craig Jones, right? I feel like jiu-jitsu celebrity is not big enough where people would be like, who the fuck are you? Like, they're still I'll take a photo with you. I don't care.
Yeah.
Or like back in the day, the guy who says that'll be $10 for an 8x10 or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like.
So I came here and trained in the middle of the day thinking, well, I can bug Paul about this, like, you know. And then Julian shows up after training and tells everybody that Craig Jones was just there and had trained for an hour. Like, God dang it. And then I guess he went back the very next day, unbeknownst to me, and do the same thing and train for an hour middle of the day.
He's just
missed both times. So that was the big news. And then, and in Julian's words, you know, he came there and he went through the entire gym, which
that's crazy.
Doesn't really.
It doesn't sound like impressive until you.
And he said including Jacare, which
that's what I'm saying. Like until you.
But that doesn't surprise me because it's no gi. And you're going with a no-gi specialist that specializes in leg locks.
Exactly.
You know, if they went in gi, I'm sure Jacare would handle himself quite well, you know?
And it also goes back to the thing, too, is like, we don't know how hard everybody's going either. So, like, you know.
Well, this is the thing that I had this realization. And the realization is, how shitty is it to be Craig Jones? In the sense that...
Wait, what do you mean? He got world-class training to come for 2 hours.
This guy, wherever he goes, I want to drop in and train. Everybody and their mother, A, is going to come out of the woodwork, and B, is coming out for blood.
Are they, though? Or do they want to learn?
I think someone wants it.
You think people want to get off on the fact they say that I got him or something?
I got him, exactly. I think it's a bunch of Erics. What do you think Eric's going to do if he goes with Craig Jones? He's going to
I'd like to think that he would have the respect to not... But here's the thing, is like, Eric doing what Eric does isn't a danger to Craig Jones. He would be an idiot to try it with Craig Jones.
My point is, when does Craig Jones get to practice? All he can do is go A game. Unless, of course, he goes with vastly lower skilled opponents.
But how many percent of the people in the world? I mean, like, it's 2% that he really has to bring A game with, right? The other 98%, he can funnel to whatever the fuck he wants. So he can train.
It's no-gi. He doesn't even know that until... I mean, I know he could identify pretty quickly. Like, he can play A game for the 10 seconds and realize, oh, this guy,
I'm fine, you know?
But still, I just think, like, wherever he goes, you talk about getting a target on your back whenever you get a new belt.
Oh, dude, yeah.
What does a world-class grappler have when he drops in to train? Now, granted, I'm sure he gets welcome. He 100% doesn't pay like a drop-in fee. Everyone's happy he's there.
Yeah, I mean,
just
the Photoshops alone.
I get that, but still, it just seems so. You know, unless but you know, when I thought about it some more, it's like maybe it's an ego thing. Maybe as long as you don't have the ego, it's like, who cares if everyone at that gym taps you if you're practicing stuff? You're the one competing at ADCC and getting medals.
Like,
but still. Everyone does the fuck. Maybe it's because I'm a bro or whatever. You know, it's like.
But if you hear like on the Mappern podcast, who is it? Like Hinger and Keenan talk about like when they do seminars and stuff, and they want to roll afterwards, and they make a conscious effort to roll with everybody. Like, not one, it's strange because they actually remember who tapped them. So obviously it's on their minds.
They talk about, there's one with Lucas Barbosa, and he talks about, yeah, bro, they all Shark Tank us. They're these 5 black belts that are just waiting. They don't even roll.
Yeah, they're not
and then
sweaty.
They wait for me to roll like 20 minutes, 35 minutes in, so I'm already tired.
And that's so, but they were still good. They were still fine. So I mean like that to me indicates I'm like,
they said it was, I mean, Lucas said it's hard, man. Like I
know it's hard, but they're still the upper 2% of the bell curve. So like
I understand that they can defend themselves, but it's kind of shitty to me that you have to constantly be defending yourself. You know what I mean?
But you're also the one putting yourself out there.
I guess.
I mean, like, it's a part of the game, right? Like when you're because here's the thing: is like when they drop in, what is their expectation? Hey, I just want to drop in for a class, or is it like I want to drop?
It was
an
open mat. It was just an open mat. It wasn't even a class.
It's. I mean, it's Fusion is sort of like the fighters' gym in Orlando, right? So like he knew what he was getting into. He's not like, oh, I'm gonna go work on some technique.
I want to come over to AT2 Orlando and work deep half variations with Paul.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's just not what he's interested in right now. And there's nothing wrong with what we're doing. That's our curriculum right now. So, I mean, that's it. Does it suck or just shows that you're the fucking man right now?
I guess right now in Miami, there's like one of the head organizers of ADCC brought in a lot of marquee grapplers, and they're having a little private training session.
Is that the guy that was on their podcast?
Yeah,
like he's the organizer.
So. There's like a video of Gordon rolling with JT, and there are a bunch of guys. The Rotolo brothers are down there. It's funny because I watched JT and Gordon rolling, and I think in the background Henry Cejudo's just watching. So it's just kind of like this little inner circle of people
of just killers for one.
Oh,
and
well, what they are is top-level ADC competitors and medalists. So,
Stacy just texted me. I don't know if you know this, Noah. And just speaking of beets not digesting in your stomach.
Oh, boy.
It's Girl Scout cookie season.
Okay.
Would you be interested in a box?
No.
No?
And I'll say that on the record, no.
Why?
Because I don't eat cookies.
You don't eat cookies?
No, not really.
Man.
I know I suck.
Live a little, dude. You only got one life.
Well, for good causes, I'll tell you this. I bought a rash guard.
Okay.
More
the
expensive.
Aussie one?
One of the Aussie ones, yeah. Where all the proceeds go to. It was the one with a koala on it. It was actually one that Greg Jones advertised.
Oh, is it?
It has a koala on it. There's also an Aussie strong one that looks cool, but from Hyperfly. So this might come out. This is going to probably drop a lot later, but I'm sure it'll still be around. You can check out basically rash guards that have been made specifically for the wildfire situation in Australia.
You make me feel like shit now for supporting some little girl instead of buying a rash guard to support koalas, in which I literally know 3 people who live in Australia now. So
there you go. Shout out to our listeners in Australia.
Yeah, man. Alistair, I think, listened to it. He's my buddy. He's one of the guys that came to ATT Orlando with me from Gracie Baja. So he's back in Australia. He's like, we call him Thor.
What part of Australia? East or West Coast?
No, I just call it Australia. It's a big ass continent. I know he's not on
You're
fire.
really showing that Americans don't know geography that well.
And I'm also showing the fact that I texted him to see how he's doing. He replied to me, and I forgot to reply back to him. So I'm a terrible friend also. And actually, a girl I went to elementary school with joined the Air Force, decided to move to Australia and live there. And she's like there now. I'm like, you ever come back, Stephanie? She's like, no.
Shout out to Stephanie.
Yeah, so that's cool too.
Well, let me ask you then. You've been a black belt for about a month?
Yeah, I guess so.
Have you noticed a difference in how people roll with you?
No, because I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't know, man. Like,
do you even roll anymore?
I do. I try to, and that's the thing is like, and that's what I think people maybe they shy away from it now too or something. I don't know. It's strange because like I can say I've probably rolled less recently, but and keep in mind like this week I think is sort of like my first week back of normalcy from the holidays.
Things settling down.
Yeah, finally like the holidays are over. My fucking Christmas lights came down. I'm not getting nagged to like clean out this closet to put Connor's toys away. Just all this other bullshit. My water heater's not breaking. My fucking brakes or my fucking car is not getting replaced. All this bullshit. So like everything's good. I trained it Tuesday morning. Back on the mats. So I think after this week it'll be a better gauge as to like how my training's going. I can tell you I've been lifting weights way more consistently. Back on that track, so I'm not doing
everyone that
thing.
trains at 6 a.m. seems to be huge.
Yeah, except
you got
me.
the super heavyweights.
Oh my god.
You and Tommy are the only
oh my god, and John Haidt.
Yeah.
So like but yeah, everybody's is it like some sort of like a big guy thing that they just wake up earlier or what?
I don't know.
Oh, it's
Is jiu-jitsu easier for a bigger guy to maintain because they don't get smashed as much in their career?
Oh.
Do you think people stick
wow,
around?
You're calling them out, aren't you? So wait, hang on. So is jiu-jitsu easier for somebody who's bigger just because they're usually the one dealing the damage?
Probably less. They're probably less experienced as being unpleasant. I don't know. I mean, you're just so big.
I guess so.
As long as you're big and you have some sort of cardio. If you don't have cardio, then you're miserable.
You think they take less damage? Yeah, I mean, that's probably something.
I would hope none of us are taking damage on the mats. What's your definition of damage? Having a rough go of it, basically?
If you're having to take your next class off, then you've suffered some sort of damage.
Oh. Yes, as long as a big person... I don't know. I don't actually... I would think, but I don't know because I'm not 6'4".
I think it depends on that person themselves and how willing they are.
Again, we're talking about people we can't identify with.
No, I mean, I don't know. It depends on what they do, right? Like, for example, and this is all, it boils down to personality and it boils down to the girl and grappling style. Brian McKenzie, for example, probably has suffered more injury than Colley because he has a more diverse game, right? He plays off his back more. He plays more leg locks.
I'm also wondering if with the more weight you carry and the bigger your frame, does that mean any sort of fall could be more damaging than a
more catastrophic to you?
Exactly.
I mean, that's very well could be a possibility. I mean, like, because bones don't get stronger because you're bigger, right? Like, if anything, the lever is longer, right?
Well, I'm like, for example, I'm thinking of John had a match, an IBJJF match. I think it was the finals that he won, and there was a position where he was on his opponent, or I forget the scenario. It was like his opponent picked him up. Basically, John's weight was being bared by his opponent, and then his opponent collapsed, and his knee gave out. And my point is just, if you're bigger and you fall, I want to think that that's not as good as... There's just more mass, like the impact.
Right, okay, so that leads me... I have a question about that, right? Because... always back to comic books. You're familiar with Giant Man, Scott Lang from the MCU, like Marvel Comics, right? He can get, like, super big.
What?
So Ant-Man becomes Giant Ant-Man.
Yes.
In Civil
Scott
War.
Lang. Yeah,
Scott
yeah,
Lang, right?
yeah, okay.
So one of the things about Ant-Man is that he doesn't have super strength or anything. He just becomes big, but his bones and muscle and stuff maintain this normal integrity of that of somebody proportionally of the same, smaller, but just the proportions remain the same, right? So technically, wouldn't that make him weaker? Because our bones are evolved to maintain its structure and strength and leverage and whatnot for somebody of our, like, I'm not an engineer, but my suspicion is...
I can tell you, I recall as a kid, I want to say this is trivia, and maybe I was misinformed, but an ant, and this is funny because it's an ant,
Yeah.
answer. Right, as a kid, you learn they're very strong for their size.
80
look at them,
80 times
Look
or
at
something,
what
right?
they can carry and all this stuff. But
they're also operating on 8 limbs or 6 limbs.
if you were to make an ant larger, blow them up, they would collapse under the weight of themselves.
Exactly, right? So there is some sort of, because their exoskeletons don't get more dense, right? Like, just as a human, like Scott Lang, he becomes 30 feet tall. His bones don't become more dense, but his limbs are automatically longer. His muscles are longer and stuff. So that's actually, his skeleton may or may not be able to support the same amount of weight. So I don't know how much variation is that between somebody who's Chihuahua size versus somebody who's
Shout out to Chihuahua, whose main training partner now,
Marcelo
according to
Garcia?
him, is Gian Grippo.
Really?
That's what he's.
I mean, to say main training partner.
That's what he said. And he said, Grippo said, I'm a good training partner, not what you said about me, bro.
Like,
He gave me a random voice message last night, and this is what he said. He said that Grippo, he's like, I'm going to just exaggerate and say he's Grippo's main training partner. Grippo called him out, let's train together, because you're a good training partner. So, yeah, man. And he's like, once he's like, bro, once he gets a hold of you, bro, it's over, bro. It's just
but he's a world champion, of course.
I would
right?
think. I was like, we can beat you up for half the price.
Exactly. Like, but so either way, I don't think it's more catastrophic. Maybe it is more catastrophic. The proportional difference between someone Chihuahua size and somebody Yoga John size, that the risk of injury goes that much more, can be more catastrophic.
I mean,
we should ask a biologist. Who's a biologist at the gym?
who's what?
Who's a biologist at the gym? Would you be able to ask?
John.
I mean, like, he does like nano stuff. I'll ask him on Thursday. No, I'm not. Yeah, well, that's not.
Yeah, what is your schedule now? Training.
So
wise? It sounds like you're twice a week.
I'll be Tuesday,
2 days a week, but training twice on Tuesdays.
Yeah, twice on Tuesdays and then Saturday. Which
and
sucks.
Thursday morning?
No, I'm not teaching Thursday morning anymore.
But I thought that was a one-time thing.
No, dude, I've already told the guys, like, I'm probably not going to be coming Thursday morning.
Really?
Yeah, I'm.
Oh, I thought that was
I almost don't even want to get it to talk about it because it's going to upset me. Yeah. So it's
amazing that you have work that obligates you to do work at 6
It's
in the morning.
terrible. How unfair. Woe is me, right? No, it's just, I think with Tommy back too. I mean, like, they're not missing out on much, like without me being there.
You're missing out on training with Tommy.
I know. That's trust me. Like, it's
I thought about this.
yeah, it's took me a while. Like, I didn't want to do it, but it was just one of the situations where I was disappointing. It was causing me to have a lot more resentment towards other people than I really needed to have.
At work, you mean?
At work, exactly. So, like, people who had committed to me that they would do things so I could teach that class and not have an issue with it, and then it got more often than not that, like, I'm having a call out from teaching because of they were unable to fulfill their obligations. So that's such is life. I got to pay the bills.
So what day do you think you could squeeze a third day? Because 2 days seems pretty.
2 days is
pretty
terrible.
light.
I know, and it looks bad too, right? Because, like, I just got my black belt. I was busting my ass. They say, if it's important to you, you'll make the time. If it's not, you make an excuse and blah, 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 right? And, like, it looks bad. So, like, leading up to the year, I've been still making a conscious effort to get in. I get my black belt December 7th. And then, like, after the holidays, I
checked
can't.
out.
Yeah, I can't teach on Thursday. No, it looks convenient, right? But it's not the case. I'm hoping to make it up with another day, maybe Thursday nights. I don't know. Or maybe I'll implement, like, an early morning Saturday or something, just to get some extra mat time. Because I know Stacy, like, she's a little disappointed in the situation too, because she can tell when if I don't get my jiu-jitsu quota for the week, how sort of, like, irritable I get and stuff, and I don't, So I'll get it in one way or another. So, but
you should come in Sunday at 10 a.m., bro.
Weekends are hard, man. It's just weekends are family.
Do the leg
time.
lock drilling class.
I would love to. That's the thing is, if we're up to me, I would just do Tuesday, Thursday evenings, and then, like, Saturday, Sunday mornings.
Okay.
just to get a good 4 solid hours of work in. And then, because the only reason why I even really started doing the morning thing was kind of for selfish reasons too, because like I couldn't train as much in the evenings and afternoons as I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, I'll supplement by offering to teach to help out the gym, add value, and like get a little extra mat time in too, so, and kind of bridge that gap between like morning and evening classes to keep the guys on the same page as well. But that's, yeah, it is what it is. I'll figure it out in one way or another. So, but how are you liking the deep half stuff?
I like it a lot. We, meaning myself and Victor, had pestered Paul last year to do a little deep half.
Really?
Because that was something that was a gap in our knowledge.
How did you come to that conclusion that there was a gap?
Because we'd heard people talk about deep half. We kind of knew what the position was, and we knew nothing about it. So we got a crash course from him at that time, and there was a week where he taught it. Now he's magically doing like a month on deep half and all the variations. And he seems to be doing more sequences, or dare I say even system-based approach, which is very Keenan. And I think, very Keenan. I don't want to give Keenan credit for that, but I've heard it from Keenan first. And I do think that's a great way to look at jiu-jitsu is a conglomeration of systems, and if you can teach the picture or algorithm of that scenario of that system, then you'll have an understanding. And I like how in Keenan's words, it's like these are the 3 to 4 common reactions you'll get. These are the responses that you should have. And if they do something crazy, then you learn something.
And that's where I wish we stuck a little bit longer with the knee cut, man. I don't think we spent enough time on that.
I agree.
Yeah, like we went straight to deep half.
But I don't think that was necessarily a system.
What do you mean it's not a system? You sent me a link to a 25-minute video of Rafa Mendez's.
That was a different kind of.
Yeah, it was different, but it was similar.
Very good.
Did you ever figure out why it's called Crazy Dog?
No.
Neither did I. I looked it up too. I'm trying to Google it, and I'm like, this has got to be some sort of it must be some weird lost in translation from like Portuguese to English.
Well, independent of this, but it's kind of an interesting observation. So I've started training at noon, Mondays and Wednesdays, which is fun. You get different looks. You get different people to train with. And on Mondays, it's followed by pro practice. So you get a lot of
the Fusion
black belts, you guys from Fusion, guys I haven't rolled with, higher level guys and girls that use jiu-jitsu as a warm-up. So I got to roll with, I even got to drill with Alan. I guess that's what they call him, Alan. I would just call him Alan.
I mean, yeah.
But Patrick, right?
Yes.
I think that's the last
UFC.
He's a UFC fighter.
UFC fighter.
UFC fighter. And he's a Brazilian, and he's a black belt. So he and I were drilling together doing deep half, and he was giving me some tips and stuff, and then I rolled with him afterwards. And man, dude, these Brazilians, they're all about the lapel and the grips.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, lapel. You grab with good grip, lapel. And when I rolled with him, he was more than anyone I've ever rolled with, really. I wouldn't say that because Paul uses grips. I mean, everyone I roll with uses grips. But he used grips in areas that were new to me and very interesting. And it was just a different feel, you know. Always trying trying to get grips. What's so funny about it, though? Definitely trying to get grips when you're in side control. Okay. So instead of securing people with crossface and underhooks, secure people with grip variation,
the far side, lapel,
under the armpit and stuff, that sort of thing. So that's really interesting. But what's so funny is how so many Brazilians hate Keenan for doing his
like the super lapel.
I know. That's lapel.
Like the next evolution of lapel.
That's more lapel.
But I don't think they necessarily hate him for it. They probably hate him because they came up with it first, right? But they're using it now, aren't they? I mean, how much of
that I don't know. I'm just taking the very cursorily glance at the situation.
But so what's really funny is like there's some sort of like discrimination against like when they say lapel. It's like they always refer to like basically like sternum level and up.
Well, in his case, it was even in the deep half. He was telling me you got to grab the lapel when you're in deep half.
You mean like feed the bottom one to the far leg to be able to get a tight leader sweep to lock your hip down?
The arm, not the arm that's controlling the extended leg, but the arm that, for example, when you go to the waiter sweep, would go to the other hip. Grab the lapel there.
Yeah,
he's like lapel. Grab the lapel, and then when
that super locks you down, right? Like,
oh yeah, and he has a point. It's like I can't shrimp away when you have that, and it makes the pass easier. Like I get that. So, but it was funny. I enjoyed it just because it was a different look, and it was fun to like communicate between broken Portuguese and English.
Yeah,
you know, like I'm using Portuguese, but he's really not acknowledging it. And he's using English, and I'm not really, we're just like getting by, No one is just accepting the other person can speak the language, or just like, no, I want to keep trying to speak Portuguese. Right? And he's like, no, I want to keep trying to speak English.
But he speaks English, right?
Huh?
He speaks English.
He speaks better English than I speak
Portuguese, right? Like,
sure.
But we both understand lapel, so that would be.
But it's fun to say, isso, aqui.
Is that aqui as here?
Here, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is different. Okay.
Basically,
but you understand Spanish, so you should be able to.
And I would tell him like I speak Portanhol. That's what they call it in Brazil, Portanhol, which is this. You say some Portuguese, but a lot of it is just Spanish, putting on what you think is the Brazilian Portuguese accent.
You're like adding like jus.
You're just adding,
and you make everything sound like a question.
It's just saying like instead of huge honor for me, you say huge honor for me. Same thing. You do the exact same thing with your Spanish, and you're like I'm speaking Portuguese.
So Port in English,
Portanhol.
But that would be Port English, or it's a huge honor for me.
Oh yeah, that would be like with Spanglish. Yeah,
that would be Port English or
I've never heard
Englishes.
Yeah,
but so how did your class go Saturday? You thought it was? You said there were 17 people there.
You talking about the one?
The little drill
Sunday.
session. Sunday. See, that's
Sunday at 10 a.m. There were 8 of us in total.
Nice.
And I thought it went well. As I told you,
man, sell it.
I'm sorry.
Sell it to everybody.
So,
give us benefits, not features. Come on.
Okay, so if you want to be able to roll with Eric and not get hurt, this is the class to take. So it is a leg lock drilling class with an emphasis on defense and safety. So one of my biggest goals is to make sure everyone knows to identify when they're in a situation that requires a tap, and also know when you're not really in threat of catastrophic injury and when you can actually work escapes. Obviously, to do that, I immediately realized that you have to teach some level of offense. So I actually first have to teach offense so that the person that's practicing defense will be able to practice it against someone that's doing the logical thing. So you actually start off with a basic offense, and then we start working in defense. So what we did on our first day was did a bunch of movement drills. So I actually started with, it wasn't a hierarchy of positions because I wouldn't define them really hierarchies.
Each one is,
but a flow from ashi to outside ashi to 50-50, back to outside ashi for simplicity, reverse ashi, saddle, 4-1-1, Russian leg knot, or leg weave.
You know what's crazy is the fact that there are that many positions with only 4 limbs.
Oh yeah, and that's not even. There are so many variations.
Yeah, exactly.
I just went over what I deem the major, like stopping places, but there are tons of variations on those positions, and tons of leg entanglements that don't have such clearly delineated names. So that I want to do almost every class as a warm-up, just so people get in the habit of identifying what the positions are, so they know when I'm in 50-50, these are the set of escapes I can do. When I'm in ashi, I can do this. When I'm in outside, I can do that, etc. So we opened with that. Then we did some leg pummeling drills, some ashi entry drills, some ashi attachment drills. So just being able to making sure that. So basically, it starts. So this is kind of how I want to structure the classes. I started with leg pummeling. We did that for a minute. Then you add
which is way more tiring than you think.
Leg pummel to ashi entry to one leg, go out, ashi entry on the other leg. Then after a minute of that is ashi entry onto one leg. Actually, I did it with that one. After each entry, your opponent has to drag you do a couple butt scoots back, and make sure you are attached to them and you follow them. So that your ashi is tight enough that if they scoot back, you just slide on the ground with them. And then we did leg pummel, ashi entry, opponent peels your foot off and decides to hop their butt over the entire leg, which not necessarily what you want to do in a certain situation, but for the sake of the drill, I have them hopping over the entire leg.
Because
and then you go back in and take you switch ashi to the other leg.
Right.
So they've hopped out. Now you attack the other leg.
That's a good drill for both people, right? And that's
exactly
that's the thing.
So I want to get movement.
That's good drilling.
So people get comfortable with using their feet, entering with their legs, that sort of thing. Then I broke down how to actually finish the outside heel hook from ashi, which helped me clarify. I got a lot of clarity. It's not. I still had that image I told them of like ripping heels across chests, but nobody's finishing with their back on the ground. They're finishing on their side, and they're putting their body weight on the heel so the heel can't move. So you've caught the heel, and now the heel is being driven into the mat. And now you're using your hip, and you're using pressure on the toes, because the toes are the lever to get the finish. So I got Cabrera to do the old tap tap. So I got to do the old Paul, like sorry, right. So I did that just so they understood it. Did a little heel digging, so people figured out how to grab the heels. And then we did about 6 to 8 minutes of a heel hiding game. I showed them what heel hiding is. I told them my goal. We're not doing any late escapes. We're not slipping heels.
That's not what you need to learn first.
We're not slipping heels. We're not doing that. We're doing things where you hide the heel and your escape involves hiding the heel. And with the exception of one situation, you can do that now. And that's what's cool is the latest escapes that I've seen in my research. These guys like Craig Jones, they do not like exposing the heel, even on the outside, especially on the inside, to do escapes because you're risking damage and foot lockers are getting better, so you will incur you'll escape, but you'll incur damage.
Yeah.
And that's unacceptable.
Yeah,
that's acceptable if you're in a competition and there's millions of dollars on the line.
To get four, right?
Yeah, but for what I'm trying to do, it's unacceptable. So I showed them how to heel high, how to fight with your feet to hide the heel. Then we did a game where for a minute one person's trying to dig the heel, the other person's hiding. They can't use their hands. They can only use their feet.
Oh, that's interesting.
And we rotated partners, so we did 1 minute rounds. And that was the class. Nice. We had some questions, and then this coming week we'll actually go over the ashi escape, where you continue to hide the heel and escape without exposing the heel. So no rolling. But I will probably go over how people started to escape ashi and outside heel hooks with rolling. So I brought it up before, and I'll bring it up again. The whole Gary Tone and Toquinho fight, to me, is the best example.
Oh, yeah.
Those guys would grab ankles, and they just would roll like alligator roll off the mat.
Oh, like literally.
And then into the crowd. And I was like, Jesus. And then they realized it's not a roll, it's a rotation in place.
Right.
It's a rotation escape. People still do that escape, but I still think it's risky. There's a situation where you have to do it. I can't think of a way you can't, but it's a different position, and I'll cover that later on. But I'll probably show that briefly. I'll probably start to show outside ashi, but I can't show everything at once, and I don't want this to just be like 3 weeks and be done. So,
right,
and you need time to practice.
And plus, it's only once a week, so you need to focus on
But that's a real sampling of what we're doing. But over time, we will, cover outside ashi, saddle escapes, leg weave escapes, 50-50 escapes. And then hopefully when people are rolling, if they get caught in a leg entanglement, they know what it is, and they can escape. The good thing is the concepts are starting to hold up now. So instead of having to rotate one way for one thing, rotate another way for another thing, that only comes into play if your heel gets caught. It's more, at this point, you're always hiding your heel, and you're always escaping while hiding your heel.
Yeah.
So that's at least that's a uniformal. But that's not how people were doing it. Most people, like, and there are situations where there's one situation where you have to expose your heel to an outside heel hook because you have to rotate and get out. And people still do that. So I have to show them that as a reaction that some opponents will have, but I'm going to explain to them why I think it's risky and why they shouldn't do it unless they're really confident in themselves. But, yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. And I hope, early feedback was positive.
It's sort of selfish on your part because basically this is your opportunity to kind of find dedicated people, because I know it's something you've been working on a lot. And you probably haven't gotten as much opportunity as you'd like to practice it.
I think I definitely want to practice it because I want to stay safe myself. When I roll, I don't intentionally, like, my leg locks have all been like opportunistic leg locks.
Yeah.
I haven't been hunting.
Like systematically.
I used to be hunting. There's a phase where I was hunting. Right. Now I'm not. I'm not in the mood to be in Z guard under someone's weight, totally like fully going after someone's thigh and knee, trying to like expose their foot for a knee bar or an ankle lock. Like, it's just not fun. You get smashed a lot.
No, hell yeah. I mean, like, even Gordon Ryan fucked up his MCL. He's the best in the world, So it's like cool, man.
So it's like, be safe with Eric, and then also if there's some white belt comes in that you don't know that's been on YouTube, that you don't get caught. You know what I mean?
That's it, right? Like this is cool. Like this is like the type of stuff that I think is awesome that I would love to see more of at the gym that's not mine. Is people, I mentioned the other day, like the idea of John had said, I want to do, not necessarily put together a competition team, but it would be cool if more people got riled up and we got excited about something, right? For a common thing. Like, we'll just take that and run with it. Make it happen. Like, there's nothing that's going to stop you from doing that. I don't think you're by any means stepping on toes.
I posted the schedule.
Yeah, man.
No feedback.
I saw a bunch of likes. But that's the thing is because we're not, and so competition's one of those interesting things, right? Like, how much do you feel a competition-oriented school, would they have more students if it was a school that didn't stress a bunch of competition versus one? How many students do you think they lose because it's a competition-oriented school to structure that way versus how often do you think people who join just don't know better and end up sort of like getting into competition?
So you're saying how potentially off-putting is it to a possible gym member if we were a competition-heavy school?
Yeah, off-putting, I guess. Yeah, there you go. Or how off-putting is it? Or how off-putting is it that we aren't necessarily a very competition-oriented school?
I can tell you that so I can tell you this. When I was a software engineer in 2011, thinking about training jiu-jitsu, and one of the guys I worked with was training at Gracie Baja. I asked him, what's the training like? He's like, oh, it's good, man. They're good guys and stuff, but they make you compete. And
they make you compete.
That was his words. His words.
Okay, yeah.
And that was off-putting to me. And that killed my thought about actually like going there, because I don't want to be obligated to do anything. Even though I'm a hyper-competitive person. Right. I just like I was put off, to some degree, any sort of uniform policy, Which,
so there's so many different, like, because you can try to sell policies however you want.
Because my view of the uniform policy was I'd roll my eyes as like, this is a lame way to get more money.
It's a money grab, right? But from a business standpoint, it does look good when you walk, from a consumer standpoint, you walk in, everybody's wearing the same thing, it looks great.
Sure.
It can be, and I think that's the big expectation of traditional martial arts schools, and that's what
Although some people are nonconformists,
many people are, yeah.
And seeing a bunch of people wearing the same uniform might be off-putting to those
This is true too. I mean,
people.
yeah. I mean,
like fuck that. I want to
myself
express
included.
my
I don't even match
individuality
pants,
by the gi I wear
right?
or the rash guard I wear.
So, but competition though, do you think a competition-oriented school breeds better jiu-jitsu competitors, or do you think
the quality of instruction? I think if anything, you can have quality instruction and training partners independent of whether there's an emphasis on competing. You might attract higher quality grapplers, but if you're attracting higher quality grapplers, it's also because the instruction has to be good.
Right.
So if you're saying the only way to attract talented instructors or coaches and grapplers is by having a competition school, then I would argue that point. I think you can get that without having to have. You don't have to.
I agree.
You don't have to be
I'm
a Lloyd Irvin kind of
rhetorically,
thing, or.
That is just that's an interesting thing that I've like.
And I use this gym as an example. I think. I would say pretty objectively, I think Paul is a very high level instructor.
Yes.
And the level of people that the amount of competition that's pushed here is very small.
Nil. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, none is pushed. You know, and then because I mean, like, and I use this statistic, and I don't know whether it's true or not, but it seems pretty consistent with like reality. Is like 10 people who walk in the door. I'm probably being generous. 3 or 4 want to compete.
A lot of guys come in and say, "Yo, bro, you know,
I want to fight."
I had some,
I want to fight. I mean, that's what most people say when they walk in.
I want to fight.
But like, I think a big part of it is after they train a handful of times, they're like, "Shit, if this is just training and it's this fucking hard, competition must be hell, right?" But so I wonder if I don't know. It's. But then again, like a lot of competition-oriented schools do maintain a high level of membership too. So, you know, but I'm just looking at it from a business standpoint. Like,
I think from a business standpoint, you have to identify what customer base you want.
Agreed.
I don't think you can cater to everybody.
So, did you listen to the latest? No, you don't listen to Jiu-Jitsu.
The Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah, Jiu-Jitsu.
I'm aware of him. I don't
Chewy
listen
guy.
to the podcast that much.
So I'll send you a link to it later on. And he had a guest on. And I was like, man, like, I see what you're getting at, but you're leaning a little towards like this Jiu-Jitsu sort of like a religion sort of thing, right? And I'm like, man, it's old school.
He was making that point?
No, not Chewy, because Chewy's very much. I mean, I think he's a little bit more progressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
His guest was like, I was kind of off put by, and I think Chewy also was a little bit kind of off put by this guy's opinion about like jiu-jitsu or that guy's opinion of it. So and he talked about like, oh, I've got. It's and I don't know how much of it is like a sort of personal thing, just very, very unique to that guy. But he was like, you know, I've got my business. I'm gonna run it the way I want to do it. If you don't like it, then fuck off, basically. You know. And I was like, man, like, is that the attitude and arrogance that you want to have as a service provider to the community?
I think it's also community building. You're building a community. And that community is going to be a huge component to retention.
Sure.
So that's why it's important to identify what community do you want. Do you want to have for lack of a better term, a rotating group of Brazilian black belts that come every month that are like professional fighters that aren't really loyal? They're just using your facility, you know, that sort of thing. Or do you want to, you know, get a young professional that wants to stay fit while doing their office job, want to get people that don't enjoy working out traditionally in a gym but want to lose weight, and build a community of people that aren't necessarily killers, but they're going to be longtime members.
Yeah, I mean, like,
That-
and it's their own goal as a business anyway. You know,
Sure.
like, so that's just it struck me as I'm like, man. I mean, of course, like I've gravitated towards this gym. I've trained at several. You know, like I think what Paul has going on here is a very, very good thing going in terms of community building, curriculum, the way he doesn't push competition, you know, and the way he doesn't push anything on anybody, which is, I think, awesome too.
But he doesn't shortchange the quality of the instruction.
Exactly. And, you know, like whether you're a student, he doesn't try
You
to
don't have to
upsell
be a competitor to receive high quality instruction.
or attention.
Correct.
You know, which in fact, I think if anything, you might get more attention if you're not a sort of like hyper motivated person yourself. You know, like he'll give it to you when you need it, but like he doesn't give you additional attention because he shows favoritism by any means. He gives everybody equal amounts of attention, which is awesome. So I don't know. I had heard that. I was listening to that podcast today as well, and I was like, man, like this. I'm sort of surprised that jiu-jitsu schools like that still exist. You know, like the sort of like having a certain amount of arrogance and not being a little bit more humble and just kind of thinking from the standpoint of like we're providing a service to people more so, you know. But anyways,
I think anytime you have a skill, particularly like a sports, an endeavor that could be construed as a sport,
yeah,
you're going to have people claiming to be instructors that have no business being instructors for various reasons.
Sure.
Whether it's the person that trained for a month and says they know it all now, or whatever. It's just the nature of the game, and I think early on, a novice that's polite will listen to everybody because they don't know any better, but then hopefully over time they rather develop the ability to filter things in and out, so they don't necessarily have to be super rude to the person, but they can, as my mom likes to say, let it go in one ear and out the other.
Right.
You know?
So what do we have on the books coming up here? Who we got lined up so far?
So that's an excellent question. D Money was asking.
Oh.
So I think D Money
right.
might be an after. So actually, because we've been posting these in order.
No, we can't. Do we let the people know who's coming up?
Well, I posted that. I did post the upcoming lineup.
Yeah, okay.
For those.
But in terms of like who do we got on the books? I got.
Well, we don't have
so
any.
far.
Right now we'll keep that secret.
Yeah.
We're working
We
on
can't
stuff.
let that out of the bag yet, right?
But D Money wants to come on.
Nice. I would love to have him on.
So we can chit chat to him.
He is a.
But we seem to have no shortage of
interesting guests.
Of interesting guests available.
Interested and interesting guests.
And willing.
And yeah, for sure.
So
anybody who's out
we've
there.
actually not been giving out as much free beer as I thought we'd need to get guests.
Well, here's the thing. I think the beer is more for me and you than it is for other people.
Although it's always fun to get Chris's face super red.
Oh man,
those are the best podcasts.
Dude. I was listening.
We should do a drunken rolling.
The Tristan one. I'm like halfway. First off, I didn't realize we went like 2.5 hours with Tristan.
Yeah.
He's a lot of fun, by the way. I didn't realize
all the guests I can't recall
3
any
deep
guest.
of heavy beers into that, fasted
And
and,
you noticed
dehydrated, and I'm like, man, like.
Did you notice some? Slurring?
Yeah, I was like, dude, I wasn't slurring. I was definitely far less diplomatic in my speech than I think I typically
Which is funny because you're still more diplomatic than me sober.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't know who's listening, so I need to be diplomatic about things. I mean, there's so many things.
Well, more people know you than they know me, so
yeah, I like, we were talking earlier today. I'm like, there's some stuff I wanted to talk about today, but that's probably not good for the podcast. So.
Of course not.
But
how have you been enjoying the deep half stuff?
It's good. I mean, I like I like the waiter sweep because it's one of my higher percentage sweeps. I like the details we're adding to it.
So do you see these bruises here?
Is that people like heeling down.
This is being uke for Paul when he's switching.
When he's juggling, he's like,
when he's juggling.
Like, oh my god.
So I've got like little bruises all around my lower shin and mid ankle, and it's from Paul's heavily calloused Muay Thai shins.
Oh my god,
going into me.
When
and
like
he's switching
heeling
hooks.
down and stuff.
Yeah.
So it brought
he
to
also
light.
almost dislocated my kneecap or something. It's like some guys will also just hug over here, and he hugged right over my kneecap and
pushed.
And I just I felt my knee just go in. He's like, I elicited the old. Oh, sorry. Which, like I said, it's like that's the thing. It's like it's almost like you want to do that to prove that the techniques work.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, ooh, be scared.
So
like,
something that was really interesting that he pointed out on Saturday, and I realize now it's funny because like I always notice like the waiter sweep can potentially put people in a bad position, right? Like you can seriously fuck somebody's knee up because of their natural reaction to try to counterbalance the waiter sweep, right? And I don't know if I've ever tried to waiter sweep you, but like I almost 9 times out of 10 stop halfway through the sweep, ask them if their knee's okay. If they go yes, then I continue the sweep, right? And like
that you and Tommy were talking about.
Yeah, like literally
mid-sweep, stop. You okay?
Like, you okay? And then all right, if you're good, then I go. And Paul actually pointed out the other day, he's like, man, he must have noticed everybody's probably jacking their knee up. And he used the example of like somebody doing the UPA, and a lot of times people end up fucking up their own wrist because they plant their hand on that, you know? And I was like, oh man, like, so it isn't me, it's literally them. Which made me kind of like, I was like, oh, okay, like I'm not doing mean jiu-jitsu when I do my waiter sweep from butterfly.
Yeah. Actually, that's one thing I do need to cover in the drilling class is understanding when a reap is happening and how to go with it.
Oh, yeah.
So you need to go with a reap that way.
Because a reap feels.
And also, I need
bad.
to actually explain, which I did, and I'm going to do this next class, is actually
like
talk
jargon.
about what to feel, because there's no pain. It's like if you feel pressure in your knee at any point, stop.
Yeah.
Like that's it's not a pain thing. If you just start to feel pressure in either side of your knee,
feel a heel hook, like pain in the heel hook.
If you feel any tension on either side of your knee, you need to stop immediately.
So so you do agree with to a certain degree that reaping can be dangerous?
Reaping, yes, of course.
Okay.
I intentionally do not reap white belts.
Okay, that's fair. That's good. I mean, just because I remember.
Although I do like I did for a little bit like reaping into the leg weave, but I actually find that most people that have any sort of skill will know how to get it's actually a lower percentage entry because they can immediately spin out. They can immediately spin out.
Yeah, I was saying like because you're in a less mechanically
I'm talking about going
position.
from single X, reaping, and then trying to reach their far leg and go into a leg weave position. The problem is anybody that reaps, if you go with it, then if you know to go with it, then you should almost always know that you can just keep backstepping and smash them.
Right.
So it's really not.
It's better to go
see the benefit
to a
in
reap
reaping.
from 50-50.
But that's reap's not even that bad. Like to me, the blatant reap is from single leg X on the top.
Yeah, because you're
like forcibly like smashing them down.
Yeah.
And then the other one,
yeah.
And then there's other stuff where, like sometimes I think when you like I don't know what is it like the Matrix where when you're doing back takes you can start to collapse people's combat knee inward, and it's kind of it's not exactly a reap, but you're anytime to me you've got a knee between your ankle and your hip, right? Like a good squat position. That's good. And anytime you're pushing the knee outside of that, especially inward, then you need to know to go with that feeling,
And that's where I do agree. And it's funny because like I always sort of like, if you listen to other folks and they talk about like the idea that these like catastrophic ACL tears happen all the time from reaps, like basically poking fun at the IBJJF rule. Like, I don't feel as though, like, the IBJJF put that rule in place for no reason to keep,
Yeah, but what's so
Oswaldo
weird about that rule
people.
is that if you reap that way, it's a reap. If you get into technically a reaping position by backstepping from quarter guard into the saddle, even though you're in a reaping position, you didn't get into it by reaping, so you're okay.
But that's not...
So
okay,
it's not... So that you don't get disqualified for that.
Right.
The minute you touch the leg that's being reaped, even though it's not being reaped anymore.
Yeah.
Then you get DQ'd, but you can attack the other leg. That's like how the rules are right now. So you can straight ankle lock the secondary leg, not the primary leg, the secondary leg, if we're in Danaher's terms.
That's interesting. That's really interesting.
So it's weird. But if you go into that position with a different entry, you get DQ'd immediately because you actually reap to get there.
Right.
But if you backstep, it's like,
John.
I didn't I'm just there. You know?
Yeah, because your knees already...
I think, and the problem is, most refs probably don't, like, the head ref should probably know, but finding refs that actually know those subtleties.
Yeah.
Like, I remember famously in social media world, Gordon Ryan posting a number of, like, this is a DQ. This is not a DQ.
Yeah,
this is a DQ. This is not a DQ.
He's like whispering in the
and I didn't even know what Ashi and cross Ashi was and Senkakus were.
Right.
Now I could go back and maybe understand it, but he was going through it super fast.
Yeah, I remember the Instagram post.
It's kind of ridiculous. So I think there should be. I think it's kind of clear from single X and reaping hard is a problem, could be a problem, you know. But I think probably when they made the rules, leg locks were less mature. Now they're more mature, so I think we have a better understanding of what problematic positions are and what dangerous positions are and what non-dangerous positions.
By the way.
Yeah, we got 9 minutes. So, what are you going to practice today?
What I didn't get as much of a chance.
Are you okay? Let me put it this way: outside of what we're practicing, which is deep half, are there any particular other techniques that you practice while rolling?
Right now, I've honestly been trying to play with the Lebo guard.
Really?
Yeah. Because I'm trying to go and
Lebo from close guard or Lebo from reverse De La Riva?
Lebo from close guard.
Okay.
Because a lot of people, when they attempt to pass, try to deal with this leg, and I'm super good at getting this leg.
Everyone listening is like, this leg. And as you're pointing to it.
So everybody's trying to deal with my invasive left leg.
But that's close guard. How do you have an invasive left leg in close guard?
I don't. I'm always playing with it like this.
So you're not close guard. You're trying to open guard.
But even close guard. But like from close guard, I open it and I start trying to scissor sweep, right? And so people will start to grab this, and a lot of times to try to underhook it this way.
So then you want to use that to go across.
And I go across, and that's my opportunity to grab this collar, bridge out, or create a little space, get this butterfly hook in too. So that's where I'm kind of playing right now. So I haven't like legitimately trying to play with it.
I'm going to try and roll with you today.
I'll try to funnel that way, you know. But I can get there a lot because it's something that I'm good at getting that leg in. So like right now I play with it and I use it to get my not proper butterfly or spider hook in, but then the same side spider hook in versus like the far spider hook. So I've had pretty good success like stomping down with that leg to come up, but I haven't had much success using it to try to like come back and get like triangles and omoplatas and stuff just yet. So cool. That's my secondary like fucking around with time. What are you aside? Well, are you just gonna work on your own curriculum at this point, aside from deep half?
I actually don't try to force deep half because it's work. Like with most of the guys I'm going with, like I train deep half in situational sparring and I train it opportunistically, but I don't try to funnel the deep half.
Really, I get there a lot.
I get there a lot too, especially when people are trying to mount me and stuff.
Yeah,
like I'm in that quarter mount position.
I get there from butterfly guard.
But I'm trying to work butterfly guard a lot.
Oh, yeah.
That's my big thing is working butterfly, and that's a section I've never done.
You get the strongest, the most powerful sweep that way.
Exactly. The problem with
necessary for all blue
maybe
belts.
we can talk about it on the mats, but I'm finding that I'm having a hard time finishing the sweep. Like I actually get into the position, but I'm having a hard time finishing it. Either maybe it's a grip, or maybe my angle for kicking is off, that sort of thing. And then I'm working on this double underpass that I got from Galval that utilizes the lapels. I tried doing that with you, and I like it. It seems super safe. It's just figuring out ways to cleverly enter, so figuring out setups. It's like it's definitely one of those things where if you get it, you're good, but you need to set it up. You need to like cleverly sneak your hand in, and I'm realizing that I can get one grip without anyone really thinking about it, and then if I can be quick with the other hand. So working with that.
He's
so anyway, Chris, it was cool to get a little one-on-one time.
Yeah, man. Okay,
And,
we got to relax a little bit.
Now we're just gonna watch Nick and Eli.
Dude, like
Do
slap
their
him in the face. And
All right, man. I'll see you on the mats.
yeah, man.